Almost went twice there. What is up, Skyfire family? Dude, we're out here. This is Skyfire News. We do all your UFO news, UFO culture, all your updates daily over here. Today, we got some good stories in the mix. First, we're going to get this music turned down a little bit. Why not? But we got Greer versus a crypto scam. Stephen Greer might have gotten himself caught up in something, or a clone of him did. We'll dive into that. Annie Jacobson was on Lex Fridman podcast where she talked about Richard Doty and the Paul Benowitz PSYOP scam. That was an interesting one. And Hassan calls David Grusch a crackhead, folks. This one is kind of spicy. Who knows what prompted it? I don't know, but that's a big deal. And we're proud to announce Skyfire's Discord channel. We're going to leave a link in the description. Pop in there. Populate that son of a gun. And Mike Flynn says that there's an ET government running the country. That's going to be crazy. We got a lot more than that to go today, so stick here. I'm still losing my mind over what Mike Flynn said. ET government, dude, an extraterrestrial government running everything. We got to get Red in the mix, dude. I don't know. What do you think about that, man? An ET government.
What's up, Tupa?
What's up?
What's up, live chat? That ET government was pretty crazy, pretty weird, pretty wild. I think we're going to tie it in, maybe talk a little bit about Slide 9, too. Because why not? But let's shout out some of the people in the chat.
Let's do it.
Anthony Jones, first, question mark, yes. Stoned Ape.
Good work.
Dr. Stephen Greer tried to adopt me. Nice. Smittiak. Hey Ocean. Spark Zap Zach. Jim Z. Memory Hole 370. I know who that is. See How We Are Living. Skinny Bob. Heather Birdie. Mod. Ashers. Sandy. I think.
What up, Sandy?
Elena Armstrong. Alana. Sorry. There you go. Boom. Zach. How's it going, everyone? Sage Sleuth.
Yo.
Heck yeah. The squad's all here.
Little Pop-Tarts in the mix, dude. We got a stack of books.
Okay.
All right. First thing I'm going to dive into, I think, dude, is Stephen Greer crypto scam. That one's wild. Greer has posted, oh, my bad. He posted that someone was posing as him online, involved in some kind of Bitcoin situation. That's kind of happening a lot in the UFO community. A lot of clones out there. A lot of people out there getting cloned. You might have a clone account of yourself out there you don't know about yet. But if you're involved in UFO Twitter, it might go down that way. Dude, there was also, I don't know if this could be similar, but I mean, it does remind me of the infamous Brian Johnson clone that was running around. That caused some controversy.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to pull up his tweet of what he said. Let me just show my screen. Put this over here. There you go. So yeah, this came out today. He was like, urgent, refraud. Someone in our network has been contacted via X by someone posing as Dr. Greer and asserting that they want to help with cryptocurrency. Dr. Greer is not involved with cryptocurrency at all.
Damn. Dude, I mean, is this a big scam? Is that what's going on right now? Because I remember Stephen Greer was on a Spaces that was definitely around a cryptocurrency, right? Like, I mean, the Bartcoin Spaces that are happening on Sundays, he was there. David Icke was there. I mean, is he saying that that's not in the mix at all? Was that someone else? Or is this a different situation, dude?
Yeah, so if you get an email or a DM from Stephen Greer saying, hey, I need a bunch of crypto, I need Bartcoin at this address, it's not really him.
It's not him, guys. It's a false alarm. Yeah, Stoned Ape, does he have Bartcoin? We don't know. We're going to dive into it. Skyfire News is going to dive into the fact or into this assumption here, but TBD. TBD. It's kind of crazy, these guys getting caught up in stuff like that, but who knows?
Who knows?
Annie Jacobson. You guys might know Annie Jacobson she was on like a Joe Rogan podcast a couple years ago where she dropped like the craziest theory I think I'd ever heard about the Roswell crash, which was that they were like the bodies found were actually like operated on deformed human like children. I know that's kind of grotesque, but I mean, that's what she said. They weren't aliens. It was actually some type of operation, some psychological operation played against the American government. Wild. Well, now she's talking about Paul Benowitz and Richard Doty. Red, can you break down what happened there with Richard Doty and Paul Benowitz, why it's so important?
Yeah, so basically, and she's gonna get into this in this clip we're about to play, but Richard Doty, many of you might know from Twitter Spaces, was tasked by the Air Force to basically run a psyop on this UFO researcher named Paul Benowitz, and basically, this is where it gets interesting. They wanted him to think what he was seeing was UFOs, but it was really a diversion, or like to get him off the trail of what they were really working on, which was the drone program that we have, and this was in the 70s and 80s. So let's go ahead and watch this clip.
Stories like
There's Richard Doty, friend of the show.
stories like UFOs are going to be leveraged by the CIA for strategic deception.
100%. I mean, Google Paul Benowitz. I'm always amazed that Paul Benowitz's story is not more widely spoken of. And I think that's because there's like the sort of ufologists or the people who are like absolutely convinced that aliens are among us. And I use that term loosely, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And then there's the quote unquote skeptics, and the skeptics tend to be sort of like self-righteous. And I would never want to be self-righteous. So I'm not a skeptic. I'm just, agnostic, I suppose. But Google Paul Benowitz, and you can learn the story of that man who thought he saw a UFO in the 70s, early 80s, and the Air Force, because the Air Force intelligence community works hand in glove with CIA a lot, and some of the other intelligence agencies. Of course, there's 17, not just the CIA. And they destroyed Paul Benowitz. They sent him to a mental institution by pulling a massive strategic deception campaign against him because they didn't want him to know about the technology that he was seeing at Kirkland Air Force Base.
Do you have any thoughts on that? We both know Doty.
I've spoken with Doty several times. He seems like a nice enough guy, but this is real. This really did happen, even to his own admission, right? I mean, even to his own admission. The stuff that he says casually kind of does sting a little bit. I mean, he talks about how, he tried to tell Benowitz that it was all, a scam several times, but he didn't believe him at that point. And that's one thing. But then the idea that like they were having dinners together with their wives and stuff, like imagine that. Imagine, you know what I mean, being friendly and befriending somebody, and then you bring your family involved. Like you would almost never suspect they would do something like that to you. Benowitz ended up in a really bad spot because of this. And you got to wonder, like, this is just the one we know about. So that's it's a powerful story, man.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say for the pro Doty side. This is the one we know about, right? Because he came forward and talked about it. So he's definitely one of these like villains, you could say, in the ufology landscape. But he's only a villain because he talked about it and you know about him. There's plenty of other Dotys out there who probably, with a bunch of other Paul Benowitz out there that we don't really know about.
Good point.
Yeah. Live chat. Who is the Richard Doty of today on UFO Twitter?
Who's running the PSYOP today? Dude, that's a good question. You see it a lot on UFO Twitter, right? You could see potential for it anyway. But I do wonder what the chat thinks. You gotta wonder.
Anthony Jones, Doty stories are always the best, though.
Okay, that's what keeps us coming back to Doty. He has stories, dude, and we want to listen every time he talks. And like, that it's kind of like maybe this is all bull crap, maybe just a little bit, but either way, it's well told. He knows how to hold court, dude. He really does.
Let's get through some more of this chat. See How We Are Living says Doty is a lowlife, currently shilling the circuit.
Well,
Spark Zap Zach says, I'm with Patrick with Vetted, friend of the show, on Doty. He's not a good guy and shouldn't be back in the community. Ooh. Memory Hole 370, ain't nobody like Doty.
That's true. There's
Lil
nobody
Pop-Tart
like him.
Says Herrera.
Yeah, Herrera's story is pretty interesting.
Oh, so these are the people responding to now. Who's the modern Richard Doty?
Yep. We got
UFOs
Travis
around the
Taylor.
world says Travis Taylor.
Dude, UFOs around the world. Good call. That's a good one.
Jamie says Jeremy Corbell.
What's up, Jamie?
Armstrong says all of them. After watching John Ramirez interviews, 2027.
Okay, we can't get into John Ramirez yet. We got a bumper coming up for John Ramirez, dude, and a whole explainer video because he's an interesting guy.
But yeah, and what prompted this exchange right here with Annie Jacobson on Lex, she's very much a skeptic, you would say, of all this stuff, at least having like alien explanations. And this is what she said. If you remember at the beginning of that clip, Lex is like, why don't you believe in any of this? Or why do you think there's no UFOs? And she specifically cites this story, which for being honest, there's a lot of evidence for this story, right? This Richard Doty psyoping an American citizen to think there's aliens.
Absolutely.
So you could totally understand why somebody would come to that conclusion. Oh, Ulrich in the chat says Kirkpatrick is the new Richard Doty.
I see what you're doing there, Ulrich.
Heather Birdie Mod says, I've asked Doty what his biggest regret in his work was, and he said Benowitz. So he's also remorseful, right?
Okay. He's a human, that's for sure. It seems like. I don't think he's an Eben.
All right, should we get to the next story then?
I think so, but I just want to finish it off with, I think that for Annie Jacobson to have this Benowitz thing be like a breaking point for her when it comes down to believing the government about UFOs, I think that that's super valid. You know what I mean? What happened was awful, and I think a lot of believers are happy to sacrifice someone like a Benowitz or whatever, just to think that it was just part of the process. You know what I mean? It's part of the secrecy. But yeah, it also kind of, it's a serious thing, and if she wants to die on that hill, I'm cool. I'm cool about it, man. That's cool. The next story is wild. Red, you want to intro this one?
Look that.
Well, do you want to cover what she said about Roswell or no?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I moved on too fast. Sorry about that, guys. Her Roswell comments are actually really interesting.
All right, let me share this tab instead. Okay. So this caused some waves, and as Tupa said in the beginning, she kind of gave this hypothesis on Rogan a few years back. What's really interesting about this clip and this Lex appearance is she names the source behind her claim. So let's listen to what she thinks happened at Roswell. Little thumbnail.
She drops the source here?
Yeah, for the first time ever.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So we'll talk about if we think this story's legit. It's funny. I think she says this after the "don't get psyop by an intel dude" speech. So we'll see.
In your book on Area 51, you propose an explanation that I think some people have criticized at the very end, that this might have been a disinformation campaign from, I guess, Stalin, that the Roswell incident was a remotely piloted plane with a, quote, grotesque child-sized aviator. Just looking back at all that now, years later, what's the probability that it's true? What's the probability it's not?
So I've never revealed who that source is.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I know.
Want me to tell you?
What the source?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the source?
So before I say anything on that, let me speak to the question that you asked, right? So
the suspense.
You asked me, what's the probability that is still standing as an idea 12, 13, 14 years later, right? So I continued to work with that source for years afterwards. We talked about this. Look, I mean, his whole family knew it was him. And I knew his family because I was an integral part of, I was at his house, met all his kids, grandkids. And
we should say the source is the main expert advisor behind the story, that it was, maybe you can explain what the story is that you report in the book, that it was a disinformation campaign created by Stalin to cause mass hysteria in the United States.
Yes.
The very kind that we've been speaking about with the CIA and so on.
Yes, predicated on the narrative of the War of the Worlds, right? And the War of the Worlds, when it was a radio program in the United States, made people go crazy. Oh my God, we're being invaded by aliens. Well, the government was always interested in this story, and Joseph Stalin was too. We know that from declassified documents, right? And so the source told me that the reason for this program and that the real Roswell crash remains were, in fact, it was a black propaganda hoax infiltrated, or rather predicated at this idea that you were going to overwhelm America's early warning air defense system, cause mayhem, and maybe be able to attack the United States. That was the plan. And Stalin was also messing with the United States, messing with Truman.
So real quick, just a little pause there. She's like quoting the Robertson panel, right? Which is what happened after the 1952 wave over DC. So that is interesting. There have been people who were at that panel who said like the whole thing was BS and like fake, and there were UFOs, but it kind of reminds me of the Error Report. They're kind of just drawing on the same old, which I guess makes sense if you're going to be like, it's always been a debunked thing, but
who sort of, turned his back on him, right, at Potsdam. And so this idea was, and the reason that the source is important, and unlike, a lot of people, I saw this, I saw that, I learned that, was according to the source, once it was determined that this was a hoax and that Stalin was able to get a craft over the United States and it crashed, and it had, people inside of it. They were people that were sort of deformed and meant surgically altered to look like aliens. The United States government decided that it needed to know what on earth that was all about, and if it was possible for us to have the same program. This according to the source, right? And so it sounds preposterous. And if it was...
So what do you think about that, Tupa, real quick? Her source that she's about to reveal is saying that the Roswell UFO crash, and just a really quick reminder, the Army originally reported that a crashed UFO had landed. And then they had to come out the next day and say it was actually a weather balloon. Many years later, several of the people in the town and that were involved in the operation claimed that it was actually a crashed flying saucer with ET. Now, Annie Jacobson is coming here on the scene and saying that actually, no, it wasn't a crashed flying saucer. It wasn't a weather balloon. It was actually a diversion tactic by the USSR in which they took children and or many people and mutilated them to look like gray aliens. What do you think about that, Tupa?
I think it's preposterous. I think it's just another way to cloud the story. Like, first there's the UFOs, then there's nothing. It's weather balloons. Now it's some weird craft with beings inside. Like, they flip-flop so much. What are we supposed to believe? I think the original one is probably the best guess, in my opinion, that it was something out of this world, dude. The other story, while it sounds kind of real and practical, it's almost as impractical and outlandish as the alien hypothesis, in my opinion.
Yes, if not more so. And real quick, just for the audience, let's just listen to a little bit of the original broadcast. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
We're just going to listen. This I don't think this is real footage, although I think this is footage found on the same site Anon that posted the MH370 videos. This is a real audio broadcast.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago.
Okay, we could stop it there. So live chat, what do you guys think? What happened at Roswell? Is Annie Jacobson right? I think a lot of people have been talking about this already in the chat. Maybe we could read through some of those. Roswell was a cover operation, says Edgar's Friedbergs. The crash, which was a double craft, happened elsewhere but was close to Roswell. Roswell was an attention diversion. Kent Reynolds says, Roswell was not humans. Let's see what else people say. A lot of comments on her voice. People love the way she sounds, apparently. See How We Were Living says, what BS? USSR didn't even have the bomb in 1947. That's a great point. Also, they got so wrecked in World War II. It took them like a few years just to get back to like pre-World War II levels. So I don't really find the idea of them like breaking into our airspace and doing this whole thing and not having someone along the line say like, Nagaraj says, resist her voice, everyone in the chat.
Good luck.
Ken again, Russian mutants is the worst Roswell narrative I've ever heard.
Russian mutants. That might come up later in the show.
BS. So many psyops in so little time, says B. Aussie Tiger says, flying disc with aliens. Steve, what do you think it was?
Roswell?
Yeah.
I think it was a UFO. I think it was an alien. You know what I mean? I think whatever I think it was a legitimate UFO crash. Like, the cover-up is there, the excuses are there, the history is there. Even Donald Trump said that Roswell was interesting, that there's something to it, right? His son asked him, right? The interview shared by Skyfire News, they asked, and he was like, yeah, Roswell is interesting. So I think that this is a way to write it off as something. And while it's cool to be the smartest guy in the room with the most skeptical theory, it's never the funnest, right, for anyone but yourself. So in this one, I say wet blanket.
let's watch that clip you referenced real quick.
Before you leave office, will you let us know if there's aliens? Because this is the only thing I really want to know. I want to know what's going on. Would you ever open up Roswell and let us know what's really going on there?
So many people ask me that question.
I know it sounds almost ridiculous, but it's actually the real question I want to know.
It sounds like a cute question, but it's actually, there are millions and millions of people that want to go there, that want to see it. I won't talk to you about what I know about it, but it's very interesting. But Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
So you're saying you may declassify?
Oh.
You'll take it?
Well, I'll have to think about that one. Right?
All right. Well,
All
let's
right.
finish this clip up and let's just hear who her source is. Then we'll move on to the next story.
Oh yeah, we got to know that source.
Yeah. Right,
Chat,
here,
throw
right?
some bets in there who the source is.
Yeah, everyone guess who the source is that told her that.
I bet it's Doty. That'd be so what are the odds?
Lou Elizondo.
Fine. You might say, well, it's ridiculous. Tell me and get them onto another subject. But the difference is this source, who is very well placed and friends with all of the other 75 people, told me this as a confession, right? A real tearful confession, because what he said is he was involved in the American program to do the same thing. And people died because there were human experiments that went on.
And all right, pause real quick. I know this girl's really teasing this source thing. But so here she's saying not only did the Soviets do that to us, we in turn mutilated our own little children and our special needs people to look like aliens, and we did it back to them. So it got even crazier than it was a few years ago on Rogan.
We doubled down. We were like, hey, of all the things for us to copy and repeat, that's the tactic. You guys got to be they're tripping, dude.
All right, let's hear it a little more. Hopefully she gets to this. She's teasing it hard, though.
And I write about this in the last 12 pages of Area 51. It was an explosive, revelation. And I felt very confident in writing this because the source wanted it written. Why? Because he said, I'm dedicated to my country. I know about being committed to national security. And this kind of thing must never happen. And if you give people too much power, they will take advantage of it. And he wanted it on the record. And his wife of 60 years did not know until after the book published, nor did his children. Okay. So after the book published, I was called to his house and sat there with his family. And they said, tell us this isn't true. And he said, it is true. Right. Now that source is Al O'Donnell, who is the nuclear weapons engineer who armed, wired, and fired 186 nuclear weapons. Okay. So if you want to talk about someone, you're the first person I've told that on the record, but it's kind of about time.
Wow.
So Alfred O'Donnell. Al O'Donnell. What do you think about that, Tupa?
I've never heard of him. You know what I mean? This is the first time. This is my live reaction. But I'm not surprised that he's related to the nuclear stuff. I'm not at all, right? But like, who is this guy? Have you heard of him before?
Honestly, no. And I'm looking him up and I'm trying to just get
member of the Manhattan Project. I mean, these guys were sworn to secrecy, all the deepest in the world. And then it ended up going, I mean, Manhattan Project is referenced always when it comes down to the secrecy that was used to cover up the UFO program, right? They said that they borrowed from the Manhattan Project. They just took it from that over to the UFO stuff. And so for Alfred O'Donnell to be a member of the Manhattan Project and be maybe in the know about what this stuff is, I mean, that's, that makes sense to me. But
although I
does the
think
story make sense?
I'm looking it up. I don't think he was part of the Manhattan Project. I think he might have been brought into the nuclear program in the 50s after China detonated the bomb. I don't know, man. And also, let's just say, would they have informed him? Why would he be informed of this with his position? I don't know.
Nope, no way of knowing. I mean, it's literally the first time she's the only person I've ever heard this theory from, that the government was taking deformed children and then further augmenting them and then throwing them in experimental aircraft to crash in foreign enemy countries to throw them off the case is it's crazy. Annie Jacobson, pop in here. I'd love to talk to her about this. I mean, she seems to believe it 100%, dude. 100%.
I love that it came right after the getting psyop by Doty thing. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right, we got our next story. You ready?
Let's do it. Hassan versus Grusch, dude. what Hassan said about whistleblower David Grusch is bananas. But you know, in the UFO community, these whistleblowers are kind of like held to a very high esteem, to the point where even criticizing them at all can land you on the opposite side of a couple targeted campaigns. We've seen it before, right? And there was a recent rally in New York City where they had posters of Grusch with the word hero plastered over him. So he's a hero to a lot of people. I want to know, Hassan, do you know what kind of hornet's nest you just stepped into, bud? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and so this kind of started with first with this what happened with this bridge today. This was pretty wild. And I see Zim is in the chat. I know he's from Baltimore. Hearts in the chat for Zim about this bridge collapsing. So we could just watch this real quick because that's what prompts this whole Grusch Hassan thing. But yeah, this happened this morning. This was pretty crazy. Wow. Scary. Okay.
Terrifying.
Super terrifying. All right, so that prompted somebody on Hassan's stream. Basically, he
It was orchestrated as yet another distraction in a series of distractions on the testimony of Major David Grusch. This was a planned demolition. What are you saying, dude? Yeah, dude, they planned to fucking blow up a key part of the infrastructure that connects like two fucking parts of the of this city. Yeah, they did that on purpose because of some fucking crackhead UFO conspiracy guy that's like giving testimony on aliens. Yeah, I think that's not the reason. It wasn't
damn. So let's just listen to what he calls him again.
some fucking crackhead UFO conspiracy guy that's like giving testimony on aliens. Yeah, I think that's not the reason.
A crackhead conspiracy guy. Damn, Hassan. Is that? I wonder. Is that the general public's opinion of David Grusch? Is it?
It seems kind of maybe not informed. Also, shouts out to Cosmic Judas for clipping that first. We got another Cosmic Judas thing. We figured since we're talking about it, right? We got when Hassan talked about Lou Elizondo. So why don't we listen to that? We're gonna have to pause it a bit because I think there's some music in the background. But this is what Hassan had to say about Lou Elizondo apparently back in the a few months back.
Let's do it.
Bro, look at that, dude. Bro, this dude is an alien, dog. This dude is literally an alien
Just gonna pause it for a little thing and then
among us. He's doing a self-report right now. Look at that neck, dude. That is not human. Okay, I've never seen such a powerful neck. This dude is the real fucking the real glizzy goblin, dude.
he does have a strong neck. Transformative work.
I feel like it goes right into, you know what I mean, the shoulders and something that's it's a very unique. Very unique.
You would never be able to choke this dude out. Okay, 100%. No, I can't watch this. I see a homie looking like no neck Ed. I'm like, nope, automatically disqualified. Okay, sorry.
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh Lord. Chat, what do you guys think? Is Elizondo too thick neck to be in a position of power? Is he an alien, a human? What's going on? What is going on here?
Yeah, so that's a good question too. But is this how the normal people see it? I don't know.
I think it is. I think that someone like Grusch, like he hasn't done anything really to grab the attention of the everyday person besides talk about the phenomena or whatever to some congressmen. Like, what has he done? Like the interview with the what are they called? The Yes Crew or whatever, right? And Jesse Michaels. Yes Theory. That was great.
I was credited, by the way.
Hell yeah, right? That was great. But there wasn't much outreach after that. His PR is very much kind of just
even on Rogan too.
Community.
It's op-ed, bro. Dude.
Yeah.
We're gonna have our 100th episode before this op-ed's out. It's looking like. Real quick, more Cosmic Judas love. Since you asked that, I wonder if there's other people think. Here's a little edit he did back a while back of the left reacts to David Grusch. So let's see some of this.
I mean, dude, I'm just deeply suspicious of people that have dedicated their lives to uncovering the truth about aliens. I treat them like Ghostbusters, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of that could quite literally be explained with one simple thing, which is carbon monoxide.
What do you think, Tupa? Ghostbusters.
I'm a believer.
Oxide poisoning. Check if their homes have the fire alarm beeping. You know what I mean?
Bad advice.
Everybody watching this goes, it's aliens for sure. And it's
Al
like,
Kalinske.
you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And again, all I'm asking from this guy is evidence. Now, he could say, oh my God, the deep state and men in black are preventing me from releasing any of this. He said humans got injured by aliens.
Damn, dude. The left is not like Grusch, it seems. At least the streamers.
Of course not.
Alongside two former fighter pilots who had firsthand experience.
Oh,
First of
no.
all, let me be clear, okay?
Who's that?
Fighter pilots should not be trusted for anything. They are on coke all the time. They are on uppers every second they are up there. They are insane. Anyone who has worked in the Air Force knows this for a fact.
These guys who think they fucking found aliens are wrong. No, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
The guy's a
Let me
crank.
put it this way.
The guy's a crank. And they did a piece in the New York Post, or not the New York Post, in New York Magazine about it. Like, he has always been one of the guys testifying there. He's not to be taken seriously.
We don't have some records from 1974 in Cleveland, Ohio of some motherfucker going in there with a wound that was bright purple or something. Like, what are we talking about here, bro?
Like the idea that we've had for 80 years, some extraterrestrial material in our possession, and we haven't been able to break it down, analyze it, rebuild it. No other country in the world has called us out on it. No Edward Snowden leaks. No Donald Trump gets into the presidency and asks questions about it and figures out what's going on. No private corporation, no academic institution, no foreign governments, intelligence. Nobody is
Well, but that's not true. You see, what you're doing right now, what you're doing is
99% wrong on everything you just said.
Oh, based. Dude, I didn't realize how much leftist streamers do not like David Grusch. That was pretty wild.
I like Destiny like less and less. Like I didn't think I could hate that guy more, but there he is. Destiny in the mix, crapping all over UFOs. Dude, I don't really think they haven't convinced the masses yet. There's a big deficit between where the government wants to be and like where they're at now as far as disclosure and what's the word, like public perception. It's just they're just not there, and there's all these reasons why. I mean, look, you guys are here in Skyfire News to like look at the actual news of this stuff, and we're not watching these guys. Like some people lost the plot. We got like a bunch of PR people out there. I mean, the whistleblowers are blowing the whistle on some stuff, but they do a ton of trust me bro stuff too, right? Where we have to sit and wait. And while we're happy to do it because we're into the topic, dude, these other guys got stuff to do. So if you're not grabbing their attention and their curiosity, then it just doesn't become anything. You lose momentum with them. And so someone like Grusch, well, you know, that's why I think it was worth kind of some kind of comment. The fact that like it was like, hey, dude, like you guys just plastered hero on top of this guy's name. Like that's a lot. That's okay, you're a hero, but for what? Give us the information too. And if you guys aren't aware of that we covered that the New York rally in a previous stream last week. That was a whole thing, dude.
All right, Tupa, you ready to hype this up?
Skyfire Discord. We even have the link out there, guys. We are announcing our Discord channel. All right.
Oh,
it's a good deal, right? We want to get more. You guys know more about what we're doing. I mean, pop in the Discord. That's the best way to do it. We'll put the link in the description and we'll put the link in the comments for you guys. Just flow in there. We just keep it real in there. You know what I mean?
If you want to be a mod and you know, we got a lot of haters out there. It'd be much appreciated.
Oh, the Discord's gonna go nuts.
The Discord is gonna go insane, I feel like.
Pretty quick. We're gonna need some mods in there.
You have a long history with Discord.
I actually never heard of it before today.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited for you to check it out for the first time.
Is it a video game? We'll get in there. We'll get in there, dude. Dude, before we get to the last story of Michael Flynn, right? Before we get there, I do have a conspiracy of the day, dude. We got to go there.
Oh,
you guys ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go.
It's time for the conspiracy of the day.
I always forget it loops. Red. Now I know you've heard of this, right? But I mean, I know you have.
Is this the one you made, right?
This is my favorite new conspiracy. Like, okay, so a lot of people still don't know about it, but I think it's super dope. So the Russian CIA essentially was called the KGB, and after the USSR like disbanded, right, the Soviet Union, a bunch of stuff was just left over in these government buildings, and one of the things that they found, they being American intelligence, was a document that spoke about a group, a little platoon of people, they're soldiers out in Russia, going out there and then coming across a UFO. And what happened is so wild. And I figured it'd be a good time just to play this video. If you guys aren't subscribed to Skyfire News, we also put out content like this. You can find this on the channel, but check this out.
The following story is based on a real document obtained by the Freedom of Information Act. Viewer discretion is advised. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in 1991, the KGB Top Secret Intelligence Administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA. As reported by the authoritative magazine, Canadian Weekly World News, US intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers, who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion, survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, "If the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked."
That's wild. That's a wild story, dude.
Someone in the chat said Medusa. That's totally what I think of too. And the Terracotta Warriors or whatever.
Yeah. They covered that on Joe Rogan
story too, where people get turned to stone.
Yes, pillars of salt. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a creepy story, man, from Russia. There's a lot of stuff coming over from there.
people will roast that story because it first appeared in like the National Enquirer or something like that.
Mhm.
But I always say that that should never really that should honestly sometimes even serve as like a thing that like maybe it's more real. I've covered this in some of my videos on my main channel. I want to eventually do like a full video on just this. But the National Enquirer was totally, in my opinion, like a CIA disinfo op. Jesse Marcel from the Roswell crash, bring it all back to earlier. His first interview was in the National Enquirer. The National Enquirer was the first American paper to report on the Colaris UFO events. The guy who made it was a literal CIA disinformation agent. Right after the 1952 wave and CIA's Robertson panel, they started covering UFO stuff. And there's been like National Enquirer type papers made in foreign countries by the CIA. Particularly India comes to mind. That basically do the same thing. Just muddy
And
the
that's like
waters.
diabolical, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like to get in there and like to basically like sow distrust in the narrative by like throwing all these like things at these rags in the aisles or whatever. Like it just kind of bananas that they went that far to construct these publications to make this look like a goofball situation. And your reporting on that, I think, was really amazing. And like how deep it went and how many of these, like, you know, from Inquirer on, where you think they're just making it look stupid and they actually are. It's a bizarre thing, dude.
Hell yeah. All right,
Dude,
the last story. All right, do you want to do this UFO, quote unquote, UFO video, and then we'll do the last story?
Yeah, we could do this. I mean, there was a lot of reports on this thing. Now, we know about these rocket launches, but imagine you look up and see this thing. I don't think that we're still prepared for it. It looks weird as hell. That would throw me for a loop, dude. My first instinct would not be that's a rocket. Looks like something's traveling to another dimension.
I would probably think that's a rocket, not to be like, but
Dude.
One time I was out and about though, and I was with friends, and I saw something like that, and I thought it was like, oh, and I totally was like pwned publicly. It was really bad.
Oh no!
They're like, bro,
were you
that's
trying to
just
convince
SpaceX.
your friends that it was a UFO?
I don't know. I was just like, yo,
Yeah.
something. I don't know what that is, but I was playing like, playing really cool. But I was like, is this it?
Hey, we've all been there before, man. We've all been there, dude. Okay, last story of the day, guys. Mike Flynn and the ET government. Now, a lot of people might not be shocked that Michael Flynn says something like this, but the way he said it, just still, I was caught off guard by it. I was caught off guard.
Yeah, and who is Mike Flynn, Tupa? Let the people know.
General Mike Flynn, friend of the show. He, honestly, dude, I just remember that name popping up so much around the Trump era, around the QAnon stuff. Like he was a true patriot, dude. What's he most known for, Red?
I think being a general and Trump ally. I think he was Trump's advisor, one of Trump's advisors and whatnot. I think he, per his words, the Obamas asked him to do something he couldn't do or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he has like kind of beef with that administration. Oh, okay. And yeah, this came out yesterday. It's kind of interesting.
Dude, listen to this.
This is our problem: is that we have this extraterrestrial government that is running our lives in this country. And when you talk about people like Biden or Obama, even those guys, Obama's benefited. I mean, Obama never had a job in his life, and he's a multi-millionaire. Give me a break, This is our problem: is that we have this extraterrestrial government that is running our lives in this country. And when you talk about people like Biden or Obama, even those guys, Obama's benefited. I mean, Obama never had a job in his life, and he's a multi-millionaire.
Extraterrestrial. What does he mean by that?
This is our problem: is that we have.
There you go.
How many different ways can you take that sentence? An extraterrestrial government.
Right. Exactly.
Like, is that like David Icke reptilian status? Is that what's happening? Is that what he's talking about?
Robert Bigelow once said they walk among us. You know what I mean?
They're right under our nose, he said. He said they're right under our nose.
It kind of made me think of slide 9. Let me just zoom in a bit here.
Slide 9. Now this leak, didn't this leak? This wasn't like supposed to be public knowledge. It was in the back doors.
Quote
of
unquote. It
right?
was leaked apparently accidentally by Christopher Mellon,
Mhm.
who helped leak the videos, right? And
Whoops.
he accidentally, quote unquote, posted this on his website for like a 10-minute increment, and people got it.
Christopher Butterfingers Mellon.
Yeah, the part that makes me think of that quote is the science exists for an enemy of the United States to manipulate both physical and cognitive environments in order to penetrate U.S. facilities, and this is the part, influence decision makers. So I don't know. I always found that part interesting. Yeah, Chupa, you have any thoughts? What do you think Mike's saying here?
Yeah, I think we got to talk to Flynn. We got to talk to him, dude. Like, what is the, how many ways can you interpret extraterrestrial government? How is it extraterrestrial? Is it humans that have gotten off planet and now govern the world from, some space base or some moon of Mars? Or is it extraterrestrials who are running the actual government? You know what I mean? Like,
I lean towards there's some kind of influence going on. Like it or not, I don't know.
I think there is some. I mean, if you look at all like the disclosure kind of like advocates and leaders, that's what they talk about. I mean, look at this: psychotronic weapons, cognitive human interface, penetration of solid surfaces, instantaneous sensor disassembly, alteration, manipulation of biological organisms. I mean, that's kind of like us, right? They're like, they could be altering and manipulating us. Anomalies in the space-time construct. I mean, what the hell? Anomalies in the space-time construct, dude. What? It's this slide 9 is infamous because of this stuff.
Yeah, memory hole in the chat is like, people were like, he meant to say extraterritorial. Okay, bro. Yeah, I don't know about extraterritorial. He definitely said extraterrestrial.
I've never heard of extraterritorial. That's the first time I've ever heard those words.
Should we reach out to Mike Flynn and see what his thoughts are on UFOs, or is that too like is that too wild right now?
Okay, honestly, I think Skyfire News should have all the answers. That's what I think. I don't think anyone's really off limits. I don't want to harp on Mike Flynn as a source or like as a, like a friend of the show, but I think because he said what he said, I'd like to get more information there. I'd love to get more.
Because the interviewer kind of just brushed past that too, actually.
Could you imagine having an American general say that in front of you and just like, all right, do you like Jamba Juice? Like, what, what's going on, dude? Maybe don't skip past that. Maybe just don't skip past that next time. Red, is that the news?
That's the news. We did it. Fast show, our fastest show yet, I think.
Dude, we're getting there. We're getting there. And this is Tuesday, right? There's a lot of stuff coming out every day in the news. We cover it here at Skyfire News every day. We're in here talking about this stuff, and every day we get wowed. No one could have predicted that Hassan would have called our beloved whistleblower David Grusch a crackhead. No one could have.
I don't know if I said this earlier, but Grusch has been called a lot of things. I had not heard him be called a crackhead before.
Me neither.
There's originality there.
I want to give Grusch a little love because of that. Crackhead's a harsh term. Hassan's a big streamer. You know what I mean? This one goes out to you, bro.
Dude, you have a PhD in physics?
I wanna see you get free with me. I can feel it.
The timer went off.
Bro, that was like kind of a long time. Oh, look who's in the chat. Cosmic Judas. Dude, we just did a whole section on all of your coverage of streamers reacting to David Grusch. Cosmic Judas, what do you think, bro? What's up with the leftist streamers and hating on David Grusch?
They don't like him.
They don't like him at all.
They don't like him. But, aren't leftist streamers, are they all communists now? Is that what's happening?
I don't know what's going on. But yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here with that too. But anything else you want to say to people? Oh, Tupa, you did your thing today. Tell them about that.
Oh, check out Chupacabra on YouTube. I did a whole piece on Rosicrucianism as the first UFO cult. If it's a topic you guys want me to explore more, we'll do it here on Skyfire News. But yeah, go check that out if you guys want to. I did an interview with Alien Addict over the weekend. That was really great. Go check that out. Yeah, and all that other good stuff, man. I know you got some good stuff coming out too on your channel. Guys, this is This is Skyfire News. It's Red and I covering all this stuff for you guys so you don't have to. We feed all the baby birds out there, all the other podcasters and streamers.
I love that.
for
That's
UFO
actually a
news.
thing, dude. A lot of people in this little community who stream, they use the clips from Skyfire, and I like knowing that we're able to help them, and they promote us, so it's like a win-win.
Well, it's cool. I think this field needs more people out there doing this kind of groundwork, and I'm glad to be doing it with you, man. This has been another episode. We'll be back again tomorrow, guys. Same time.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.